Operation status quo. Operation status quo. Prepare to engage. Operation status quo. Ready to engage. Operation status quo. Engaged. Engaged. Monday, Monday, da 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 da. How I love that day, do ba ba ba. Hey, in case you didn't realize, it's a frickin' Monday, ladies and gentlemen, here on Operation Status Quo. It's the Quo, yo. It's time to flow with the Quo, yo. You know how much we'd like to have a good time here on Operation Status Quo. The world is crazy out there, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a place where you can come to realize that there's people out there like me who are much crazier than you. Although, for as crazy as I am, quite honestly, I'm pretty much, I'm really normal. That's the crazy part. Because I always say, it's an old, Stephen Wright. If you remember the comedian Stephen Wright, he had a joke. He used to say, they always say there's one crazy person on the bus. I never see him. Because that's me. That's me. I'm the crazy person that can't find the other crazy people. Hold on, man. Hey-o. Oh, man, I don't know. I'm already seeing a little bit of, I don't know if I'm buffering or not, but, it's crazy it started last week. I've been noticing that every time I go on, I notice a little bit of buffering happening with the internet connection. So I don't know. Maybe we're finally getting to the point where we're going to get that 10 days of darkness and the internet shutting down and power going out and the nukes dropping. And, we're going to have to break out the freeze-dried food and all that stuff. Have you been buying your freeze-dried food? I see a lot of people talk about, prepping up stocks and stocks of food for whatever calamity is going to occur. Although, of course, it's always a good thing to stock up food, ladies and gentlemen. But realistically, how much are you going to keep? And, if the world really went to that kind of space where you have to hide in the basement and eat freeze-dried food, I mean, at that point, maybe it's better off that we just, exit stage left. You know what I mean? All right. So first of all, hello and welcome. I am Pete Palma. This is Operation Status Quo. I appreciate your time to be here. If you haven't done so before, thank you so much. And if you have done so before, thank you so much. Even more so because I appreciate the fact that you're a glutton for punishment and you continue to come back. It's a beautiful thing out there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Operation Status Quo. It's very simple what we do here, ladies and gentlemen. This is the space where we observe the status quo of life. We learn to flow with the status quo of life. And then, of course, we create our own flow of quo. Sorry, I apologize for my distraction. That's the problem with these damn cell phones. Every little time it lights up with an email or a text or this or that, your attention's diverted. That's exactly what they want. They want your attention diverted, right? So they can be doing all the things that they're doing out in the world. But here on Operation Status Quo, we know better. We know that the world is kind of basically an orchestrated event of what's going on as far as the mainstream narratives and such, and how we're living in the petri dish of shit that they create for us that we believe is real life. That really doesn't mean anything, but we're not going to be so heavy like that today. Well, maybe we will. Who the frig knows how it'll turn out. But today is the 25th of September in the good year 2023, and today's program is entitled Selflessly, Selfish Self-Reliance. That's right, because, first of all, I just like using a lot of words in the title. It sounds fun. First and foremost, self-reliance, I preach this kind of stuff all the time. It's really about, here on this program, it's really about just giving people the idea and, trying to share thoughts in regard of realizing how much power we each have inside of us as individuals to make our lives be what we want them to be, right? And we have all these pressures outside of us that, seem to kind of close us in and keep us reliant on a system that is designed basically for us to fail and to be sick and to kill us and to keep us in debt and all that type of stuff that they do. So, I just thought today would be fun to kind of talk about being self-reliant. Selflessly, because it's selfless, it's selfless. Really, it's a selfless act to be self-reliant because, and I said selflessly, selfish, because, you got to be selfish in a little bit of a way to, focus on being self-reliant and not letting those outside forces, drag you off your path. But it's selfless in the way, too, because it's selfless towards yourself in a way. You become self-reliant, which frees you to be selfless towards others in a sense, because you're not scouring around trying to get others to make you happy or complete your life, right? In all kinds of regards, you're able to do it for yourself. So let's get into some of these. I have some beautiful pieces of information here for you today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about developing, self-reliance. So now remember, how we go here. These are just thoughts to share. And ideas to consider for yourself, whatever works in your life path. I mean, the most important thing I always want to get across to people, I know I say a lot of stuff and I talk fast and I jump around all over the place. It's just like, my crazy squirrel mind, I guess you want to say. I do really think it's important for us to, I know there's so much with, obviously so much divide in our society today from all facets, just social issues, politics. It's just insane, right? Crazy. I never experienced, in my life, this level of division, that we're seeing and trying to get people to even accept or acknowledge that things that have been taught to us are not true. People get really upset and, mad about that, right? So that's why I think, it's important to, shut off the outside world as much as possible and to go inside and to really work on your skills to develop, self-reliance as much as possible. I mean, we're not all going to turn into, if you don't have the skill set that you haven't done things in your life, like you're not a farmer or, you're not a mechanic or, any of this type of stuff, but there's nothing, doesn't mean you can't learn to do things, as long as the internet's up, YouTube is great. You can go on and you want to fix something in your house, just, go on YouTube or Google it, you'll find instructions. Even same thing with farming. You want to learn to grow food. There's lots of channels out there that do that kind of stuff and you can learn. So, but anyway, let's talk about self-reliance here today, ladies and gentlemen, and how to develop some of our self-relying skills, if we could. I think the first most important part here is realizing that you have to accept yourself, for who you are, and be your own best friend. And I'll tell you what, I am my own best friend. That's why I can't even get a dog, ladies and gentlemen, because I can't have someone competing with me to be my best friend. I am my own best friend. Don't you understand? Yeah. So, Heyo. Yeah, we're going to have fun with this, I can tell a little bit. I like to be fun because it doesn't have to be so heavy, right? I mean, it's true, but just take what I'm saying. I mean, first and foremost, we have to accept ourselves. And I'll speak on this, from my own, upbringing and stuff. There were a lot of times in certain parts of my life, that I didn't accept certain parts of me or didn't accept me in general, because I always felt ostracized in certain ways because I always thought everything was such bullshit and nonsense in our day-to-day life and everybody else seems to be just going along. Of course, ignorance is bliss, and until you really wake up, you don't realize how true that statement is. But it is. But seriously, just to say on a nice note, you should accept yourself. God created all of us. We're all here for a reason. We all have special skills and talents, and don't ever put yourself down for what you think you should be or where you should be in your life or things you think you should know that you don't, or if you don't fit in certain ways, really just be honest with yourself of what you're good at, what your triggers are in different ways as far as your your emotions and such. And, put yourself in the position to utilize whatever it is within you that brings out the best in you, because the best in you is the best for everyone else around you. So, don't let others bring you down, right? You have to have inner confidence. That's basically just kind of going off the same thing I said, inner confidence. And that's the most important thing, really, I guess, is believing in yourself. And if you have that thought, like I just said, of, really just that simple kind of idea, beyond everything we think we know, beyond everything we think is or should be or what, we can't quantify it really, because it's too vast in a sense. So, just having that simple kind of space, in the center of your heart, it's saying confidence here, but just that space of really knowing that you're more than just the embodiment that you are in this incarnation of a lifetime, and that you are part of the divine, that you are created specifically for your purpose. You chose to be here. These are really kind of thoughts that really help, take the pressure off yourself, right? Like, because once you start from there, everything else doesn't matter, because people could be telling you stuff, and the news can be telling you stuff, or, anything. And, that doesn't resonate with me. And then you don't have to feel bad about yourself because you don't accept what others are trying to, spoon feed you, right? Okay. Making your own decisions. Well, making your own decisions is important too. I was at the, I don't know if I told this story the other day or not, but I had gone over to CVS, and when I was in CVS, this elderly gentleman, he was like in his early 90s. He wanted to get, he said he was due for a shot. He wasn't sure what vaccine or what he was due for, but he was due for some type of shot. So he's talking to the girl, and he wound up, with a shingles shot, a COVID shot, a flu shot, all at one time. He's like, he said, "Is this safe?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, it's safe. It's safe." So that poor man did not make his own decision. I wanted to like kind of grab him and just drag him out of the store to save his life, but I guess, at this point, he's in his early 90s kind of age, it seemed. And, I guess if he's going to go out from, a couple shots, it is what it is. But, I'm going to convince somebody. That generation, unfortunately, that generation, they believe in doctors, more so than we do now, because we know better, especially since the fake pandemic and how we were lied to about all that, right? Recognize and manage dependence. So sometimes, we are dependent on others in certain situations for certain things, but it's important to, not allow yourself to be dependent on others, right? You might need help from time to time. You're always going to have people in your life. We're not able to live this whole life completely on our own. Unless you're Tom Hanks in the movie Castaway. He seemed to do pretty good for some years, but even then he got a little fidgety, right? And made that raft and found himself back in civilization, but he was able to do it and he figured it out. So, we might be dependent on people in certain situations for certain things, but you don't want to be dependent like for happiness and stuff. That's one of the main things I talk about, especially with relationships and everything. It's so many times, I think one of the reasons there's so many problems in friendships and intimate relationships in our world today is because, people are just always looking for somebody else to make them feel good instead of trying to really know themselves and feel good and happy with themselves by themselves. So that, when you find two people like that, that's great, because each person is, on their own happy in themselves. And then when the two people come together, they have more to offer to each other and out into the world. And it's not all about jealousy and all these other kind of crazy things that come in, because all those relationships, it's funny how they turn out, right? They're all like, you're on that adrenaline high or whatever for like the dopamine high for the first like 6 months. And then after that, you're like, oh shit, I hate this person. Why is this person a jerk just like every other person I met? It's because it's just a reflection of you, and unfortunately, you're the jerk. No, we're all jerks. I don't mean it like that. You're not a jerk. I love you. You're my audience. You're not a jerk. Don't let me take that back. Hey-o. But seriously, it's you don't want to be dependent on other people, plain and simple. And especially for your happiness. Like if you're feeling like you're not happy inside for whatever reason, or, and then you're looking to meet somebody or something to, fill you up, it's never going to work. You have to fill yourself up. Fill yourself up. But not too much, because, you want to keep yourself healthy and in shape. You don't want to get put on too many extra pounds. All right. Anyway, accept yourself for who you are. That's part of what I was saying in the beginning too. Having your own values. And yeah, I'll agree with this, and I'll say having your own values. Because I don't want to make it like, there are general core values as humanity that we all, share. But, whatever your particular values are, what's important to you, your senses of tradition and such, again, as long as it's not hurting anybody else. Like if your tradition is like bury your neighbor in the backyard, that's probably not a good value, not a good tradition. You don't want to do that. You run out of neighbors quickly that way, but seriously, have your own values, believe in what you believe in, and stick to it. I mean, I'll say that's true from even my perspective of, since COVID happened and deciding to, I'm done playing games with this BS system that's trying to enslave us. So that's why I picked up and moved to Florida and doing what I'm doing right now and having a beautiful time sharing all this information with you lovely people out there. So isn't that wonderful? Let's see. Not relying on things to feel happiness. All right. I guess I'm kind of, they're kind of repeating because I'm already saying these things before it comes out. But you can't rely on things or people or any outside influence for that matter for your quote unquote happiness. Because here's the thing, and I talk about this a lot, and I've mentioned this before, whether it's something that makes you happy or something that makes you, sad or angry, whatever the case may be, if you really attach to that and put your energy into that, it's part of making the dream real. That's the whole purpose, or in a sense, of this life, is realizing that, it's more than what we think. Like I know I did that show about time, and I was just talking about our perception of time. Just like everything, is always something else out there that we're trying to, attach to. If we get mad at something, or, and happiness, we think, oh, that's great. If something makes us happy, we should, go all in with that. But it's great if something makes you happy. I think it's wonderful to, that's part of being human. We have this wide range of emotions and feelings and all that. And that's that's the purpose, in a sense, of why we're here, right? Because in the here, now, present moment physicality, we're able to engage, with those type of facets of ourselves. Like we can feel it really real in that moment, and that feeling, whether it's happiness, sadness, anger, or whatever the feeling is, or the emotion, it drives us in a direction, right? And really, it's intended to drive us to learn. If we're feeling a strong emotion towards something, it's really kind of pushing us to learn one way or another, whatever that may be. I know it sounds good with happiness, and I'm not saying not to do things that don't make you happy. I just mean, if you find something that makes you happy and then you go all in with that, then you're kind of doing the same thing as going down the bad path, because you're still making the dream of this life real and putting your attention here instead of your attention into your heart space and the present moment. So, I hope that kind of makes sense. Let's see, what's the last one on this list? And then we'll go back. There's an article here too, but let's see what that has to say. But decide, not relying on things. That's what I just said. This one here is decide who you want to be and how you want to get there. So, let me just say this about that, because the world itself, right, is always kind of what I'm okay. I gotta get my thought together here, because I get like 32 sentences to come to me at once, and I gotta sort them out. But think about over generations how we've become, more and more dependent on a system that has kind of pulled us away from being self-reliant. And I spoke on this too not too long ago about the younger generation and such, like the way they came up with so much technology right off the bat. They never even learned really about socializing, or everything's always been through the phone, through technology. So not the way that other generations engaged with one another and made friendships and relationships and such. And then when the COVID happened, these younger people too, of course, everything trying to scare everybody to death, and these kids unfortunately are stuck in part of the school system, and so they had to go through all that mess to even try to go to school, and it creates more pushing away, more pushing away from people, and when you go back like multiple generations, like before the technology of television and all that kind of stuff, where people were more just living off the land, or, they knew their community, and then little by little, all these things were kind of put in place that, things get little, now before grocery stores or something, right? I mean, people grew food, what they do back in other days, probably come around with a wagon and a cart or something, and sell their wares around. But then it comes to a point where they, develop, now it's a grocery store. So now you don't have to even think about food. You just go to the store, you just pick something off the shelf. And little by little, they just take us away and then keep us more dependent, on a system, not for nothing. They decide to make grocery stores, and then they poison all the food that they give you, right? So, that's the purpose of what they do. But that's why it's so important to be self-reliant. Like, I think from everything I'm trying to get across here today is realizing, that the world is going in a different direction. We have to realize that these people in charge, I mean, even if you want to believe that it's real, if you want to believe, the political nonsense we see on TV or whatever the mainstream narratives are, if you really want to believe it's real in the way, they say it, you have to at least acknowledge that these people aren't competent in in any way whatsoever. I mean, I think it's done on purpose. I mean, you can't make our current administration here in the United States any more incompetent than they already are. And the truth is, if these, especially Joe DeClone, if he really was as incompetent as they show on TV, they would never show you on TV, right? They would hide it, and you would never know. But they do it on purpose because they want you to know. Because they're, it's the rising of consciousness, the rising of humanity. It's to show you that this system that has been in place for all this time is a system of debt and slavery, basically. And they make it all look good. Like, you're free. You can go. Oh, you want to go out to dinner tonight? You could pick a restaurant and go. Oh, you want to, go to a football game? Yeah, buy a ticket. You can go to the game. They make it like you have all these choices and freedom, but but it's all within the realm of the bubble that they create. So, yeah, I think that's what was part of that again? To you decide who you want to be and how you want to get there. Right. So because, this, again, everything I just said about the system and the way it is, that's why it's up to you. Like, you have so much power to be whatever you want to be. It's really, really simple. And I know I'm silly in the way I present sometimes, and I just go off and talk, but I really believe, I really love people. I mean, that's why I'm here, doing this crazy show and everything else, because I just want to try to get these simple messages across. So it doesn't matter what sector you want to look through, whether it's, like I say, economy, education, government, Hollywood. I mean, it's all just to, F with you. So you decide what's best for you in your life and how you want to get there. You don't have to go through their institutions. You don't have to go through, the quote unquote normal mainstream ways of what they say is how you get from point A to point B. Be creative, think outside the box, let your heart guide you. Because, the truth is, the more you live to your heart, and I've said this too a lot of times, things just kind of flow, the ocean just flows, right? The currents just flow, current's not trying to decide where it wants to go. The current is just flowing, right? So if you can just like flow with your current, then you'll go where you're supposed to go, and the universe will support you and put into your life what you need. And I know this is a little off the subject in a sense, but if you really believe that in that way and really kind of have the space to be able to put aside the hardness of what we think of this physicality and such, and like, oh, well, how's that going to happen? How am I going to get this? Or you have to do this before you get that. But the universe is just manifestation, and what we create inside and how we vibe and how we live, creates what we see out in front of us. So if you're living true to your heart, I mean, I'm sure you all have experiences out there, where things have just kind of worked out. Like, and you never even like, oh, I can't even believe that happened or how that worked out. I mean, because the universe gives what you need at the time you need it. It's just up to you to, be open and receptive to hearing what the universe is saying and to follow what's true in your heart. So I'm going to go over here real quickly because there was an article here too, and I just want to see, there were a couple parts about this. Let me just see here. I want to scroll down to see if this is worth just giving a little something before we end today. I could have sworn I saw something here. Let's see. What is this? What is it? Hold on. I apologize because they're jumping ads all over the place, and I can't see anything on the screen because they do this all the time with these damn shit. Like, stop with the freaking ads, man. Every time you go to any site or anything, it's ads. It's ridiculous. What is going on here? How come? I might have to go back to this. Let's see here. I'm gonna do this. Actually, you know what? Screw it, ladies and gentlemen. I said everything I need to say. There's nothing in there I'm gonna say anything more. Self-reliance. It's up to you. You can do it. I believe in you. You can do it. You can be self-reliant. You see, that's how my brain works. A couple ads came on. I couldn't get where I wanted to get to, and that's it. I'm done. It just pissed me off. So, but seriously, no, I really just want to take a time today to encourage, listen, guys, you see what's going on. I'm not going to go down all my conspiracy stuff today as much, but I really believe things are in flux and things are happening, and I'm not sure how it's going to play out exactly. But I think it's important to really just, at the very least, start thinking of, What would you do today if all of a sudden they pulled the plug on the system? Like, I know the world would be in chaos. I can't even imagine how crazy it would be because there's a lot of, I don't want to insult people, but there's a lot of people that are very ill prepared, emotionally, physically, educationally. It's just like, to handle like anything outside of, watching Netflix and eating Doritos, right? So, really think about self-reliance and what it means to you, and what does it mean to you to be self-reliant, and what do you consider being self-reliant? How would you arrange your life if you were being self-reliant? Doesn't mean you have to grow all your own food and do, right? Just saying, but as much as you can live outside of the system and not be so dependent on all these programs and everything else, they put into place, like even the social programs, like, welfare and stuff. Like, am I criticizing people who go through a tough time and maybe need food stamps for a while to get back on their feet? No, but, the system is designed, and there's tons of people taking advantage, right? They never become self-reliant. They just, feed off the teat of the system, and it's not designed for that. It's always great to, help somebody out when they need help. And we all have our moments when we're down and we can use a little hand up, and, and that's great, but a hand up shouldn't be a handout, for, the rest of your life. Right. So I think, it's important to, hey, you get help, if you need help in your life, but you're always working to stand on your own 2 feet. And, if a situation comes where you do need help, it's great that you have that support in your life at that time. And then as you get through it, you're back, on your own and strong enough to maybe help someone else when they need it. So I don't know. I think that's what's important. The world is going the way it's going, and for us, the more we can depend on ourselves and believe in ourselves and live from our hearts and live from the message that's coming from here instead of the message that's coming from the TV over here, the TV it's in your face. So just stuff to think about. So let me know what you think about self-reliance and what you're doing out there to be self-reliant, and maybe some of the challenges you've overcome. I'm happy to share, hear your thoughts out there. So feel free to drop whatever you'd like to drop in the comments below. I appreciate your time, as I always do, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't done so before already, maybe take the time to like, subscribe, share, send this out to your friends, your family, those you love, and of course, those you despise as well. I love each and every one of you out there, individually as well as a group. God bless you. Be self-reliant. Be strong, because you're the best you could ever be. And it's up to you to be that, right? All right. Until tomorrow, Operation Status Quo, disengaged.